I have great faith in Malaysia's future when I look at young Malaysians, because we are truly the generation of disruptors. We dare to think out of the box. We are a lot more in tune with public policy discussions. We know that the decisions made today will affect our future more than ever. And that's where we are more invested in fighting for that future, like never before.
Syed Saddiq is a 28-year-old Malaysian politician from Muar and co-founder of a new political party. Saddiq is currently serving as a Member of Parliament and is a key figure in the Undi18 movement, a grassroots, student-led initiative that successfully advocated to reduce the minimum voting age in Malaysia from 21 to 18. Saddiq has millions of followers across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. He leverages his influence to try and create change and empower young people in the country. In 2018, Saddiq contested the 14th Malaysian general election and became Malaysia's youngest minister to date at just 25 years old. The youth vote then comprised 40% of the electorate, which played a pivotal role in the fall of the 60-year Barisan Nasional ruling coalition. 3 years have passed since the election, and Malaysia has seen 2 prime ministers appointed by the king without the people's mandate. The volatile state of governance, paired with a high surge in COVID-19 cases, has caused many young people from all sides of the political divide to speak out, despite pressure and resistance from the government of the day. Vice World News spoke to Saddiq by video call to talk about the importance of the youth vote and what it could mean for Malaysia. So how did this grassroots initiative, Undi18, eventually end up in Parliament?
Civil societies play a very big role in shaping Malaysian democracy, but previously it's always the same civil societies, the like of Bersih and many others. But this time it was led by 2 young Malaysians, Tarma and Kira, who got together to forward this agenda. And this started way before elections. They met up with party leaders in government, in opposition, to drive this agenda forward. After election, I met up with them and we coordinated together to create a groundswell so that I will be able to bring this and make that policy reform through the constitutional amendments. I really owe it to them. It shows that grassroots movements work, that you don't have to be a political elite to change the system. Everyone has a role to play.
I work with students nowadays, and a lot of them don't have faith in themselves that they believe that they can change the situation.
Tarma and Kira built an online movement to create change, which Saddiq joined. He was then able to use his position and influence to successfully change the law. However, even though the amendment lowering the voting age to 18 was passed, it has yet to be enacted. The reason given? A delay in automatic voter registration due to the pandemic.
Not just Undi18, almost all the reform bills have been put on hold because of COVID, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. If anything, reforms are even more important during COVID because that's where power centralization and monopoly takes place and disguised as COVID management.
Young Malaysians are becoming frustrated by the delays and are speaking out online.
How do I address the issue of young people feeling disempowered? It's not merely about giving them money. It's not merely by giving them handouts. The best way is to transform our political system so that it becomes more representative of young people. Because I know once it is done, the young electorate will be more than 50% of the electorate. In last election, it was 41%, and we had about 14 million voters. Now with Undi18, and also automatic voter registration, we'll see an increase of 7.8 million young voters. That's a huge number. From 14 million to 21 million, you'll see young people becoming the kingmakers for subsequent elections. Being a disruptor is not just a matter of words, but changing policies. And that's why I met up with the presidents of all political parties. I flew to almost every single state to meet up with the chief ministers, even though they came from opposition parties. We negotiated hard and finally we reached a compromise. And when we tabled it in Parliament, we did it together. And for the first time in Malaysia's history, there was a bipartisan, almost unanimous passing of a constitutional amendment which will now increase the youth electorate substantially.
Young people in Malaysia are no longer waiting to be heard and took their protest from online echo chambers to an offline demonstration. In open defiance of a ban on public gatherings, they took to the streets of Kuala Lumpur on the 31st of July 2021 for a protest dubbed Lawan, or Fight in Malay, to express their dissatisfaction with the previous government's handling of the pandemic.
Definitely we need more younger voices within the parliament. The old people have been there for too long. Like, it's time for them to step down. Let Malaysians hear the younger generation's voices. You are just gonna live for a few years, months, and by the time you've done your damage, you'll be gone, and we have to face the consequences. So let my generation decide for our future.
Tu lah, kita orang datang, kita nak try lah, protes dengan suara lah. Sebab kita orang dah buat dekat sana, sosial media dah buat lah. All this shit yang kita orang patut buat, tapi tak ada apa-apa perubahan pun. So kita orang nak try lah, dengan turun ke jalan raya nak tengok macam mana. Kalau satu dunia pun still sama, tak apa. Tapi macam orang luar negara pun sebenarnya dah okey lah. Kita tak okey. Bukan sebab COVID apa, tapi sebab government lah yang melambat-lambatkan semua benda ni. Memang tu lah sebab tu kita orang ramai turun. Sebab kita orang as anak muda dah geram gila lah.
Young people in Malaysia are more engaged than ever with the politics of the country, which is why the influence of someone like Saddiq is so critical in determining how the country moves forward. Saddiq, like so many others in his generation, has used social media to create movements, change, and of course, humour. In September 2020, he decided to challenge the political status quo further and formed a new political party, the Malaysian United Democratic Alliance, or MUDA, which means young in Malay. Saddiq told Vice World News that he was able to recruit 30,000 members via social media within 2 weeks of forming his party. However, in August 2021, MUDA's application to be registered as a political party was rejected for the second time. Many critics of the government believe that they fear a youth uprising. You regularly post on your social media pages and follow along with the latest viral trends, you use filters, you make jokes. Why do you feel that it's important to do this, and what kind of response do you get?
So far it's been exceptional. To show how exceptional it has been, while now I can't campaign from city to city, village to village, but social media has allowed me to communicate my message, my beliefs, my principles to the mass audience. And I've never witnessed this level of increase in the usage of social media and acceptance of that communication. For example, when we were barred from entering Parliament, I did a simple Facebook Live. And now it has been viewed by more than 4.5 million Malaysians and been shared by more than 30,000 times and liked more than 150,000 times. And that's only Facebook. On TikTok, the video has been viewed by more than 1.4 million people. On Instagram, 1.2 million. On Twitter, 800,000. All in all, more than 8 million people have watched one video shared on different platforms. People want to get short, concise, interesting messages which is packed with information and data. So you cannot make it long lectures, you cannot make it too short, but only humour without actual data, so you have to combine it.
This year your phone was seized by the police and your social media accounts were briefly taken over. You were then investigated under the Communications and Multimedia Act. Do you think this demonstrates the power or even the fear of your social media presence?
To be honest, I've lost count on the numbers of investigations I've gone through. Just with the police alone, I think for the last month I've been called up 4 to 5 times, investigated under different issues, and almost every single issue I post about, I will be investigated on. And I believe they fear people's uprising because they know that in the end, people believe in the message which I'm sending forward, they believe in the cause, and they're coming forward and they are mobilizing together. I think that sends chills down the spines of the spineless politicians. So if anything, there is hope for Malaysia.
Malaysian politics can have a bad reputation. Can social media be used as a way to boost the transparency of politicians?
Yes, and I think that's one of the easiest ways to boost transparency. For an example, I've been cut off from government funding for my constituents. And mind you, my constituents are largely suburban to rural, and they require a lot of basic assistance, whether it's food aid, whether it's cash handouts, or to repair their homes, which have been badly affected by floods. But all my allocations have been cut off. I didn't give up. I leveraged on the social media to run many different fundraising campaigns. I said that if I could raise more than 200,000 ringgit by going bald, I will go bald on live television. And surprisingly, I raised double the amount, more than 400,000 ringgit. But just raising money is not enough. You must also show through social media transparency. And that's why I released the names of recipients. They also see in raw footage who receives it. That helps because when you build confidence and trust with donors, and these are small donors, that's where they are more likely to support you.
And what's your hope for the future of Malaysia and the future of young people in Malaysia specifically?
I'm optimistic of Malaysia because of the young ones. We are not driven by personalities or political parties per se. We are focused on policy discussions. We want quality education for all Malaysians. We want an economic system which redistributes wealth among all, not just among the political elites. We want a transparent democracy in which promotes great accountability and integrity. I believe the majority of Malaysians are moderate, multiracial, policy-focused, and they want what's best for all of us.